I was happening, y'all. It's your boy Rico from RicoScores, and man, there's an elite safety on the loose right now. Of course, in this video, we're gonna dive into whether the Commanders should sign All-Pro safety Justin Simmons or not. We're gonna take a look at both angles, why we should, why we shouldn't. Of course, we got to dive into not only how he's like an elite player, an elite safety that's available, but also why he's literally the perfect fit for what the Washington Commanders are trying to do on defense. Also, I'm going to break down why we could potentially get him for cheaper than you probably think. Also, poor Kamren Curl and all kinds of stuff. We're going to talk about everything in this video, especially when it comes to the safety position. First of all, of course, how Justin Simmons is an elite safety, and we're going to break down exactly how with some stats and everything like that. And also, this safety class free agency market is flooded, and that's a great thing from the Commander side of things, especially with us needing safety. But poor Kamren Curl, it looks like he's more than likely on the way out unless he's willing to accept some extremely cheap deal, even cheaper than what I thought he could have gotten just as of a few days ago. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get a notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Keep y'all updated on every little thing Commanders. Legal tampering period starts in 4 days, y'all. So I have so many free agency videos I need to get out before then, before I just look silly trying to make some predictions and then things are already starting to kick off. So stay tuned for all of that. More mock drafts, film sessions for draft prospects, especially on the way after we clear this whole free agency excitement thing. We get that out all the way. So stay tuned for all of that. Let's go ahead and get to this video right now. Let's get it. Alright, so Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport were the first people I saw to put this out there, that Broncos are releasing former All-Pro safety Justin Simmons after 8 seasons in Denver per league sources. Moving on from Simmons, who went to the Pro Bowl just last season, will save the Broncos $14.5 million against their salary cap, and that's literally the only reason they're doing this. Like right now, they are struggling with cap space. A lot of NFL teams are struggling in cap space. You see the Bills, I may do a whole nother video on their situation and what free agents we could potentially pluck away from them, because they're out here releasing people that they don't actually want to release, but they're just so ugly in cap space right now with the Von Miller situation and the way his contract was set up that they have no choice but to release really good players. I mean, Tre'Davious White, even though he's been injury prone, Jordan Poyer, and we're going to talk about him a little bit later in this video when we're talking about how crazy this safety free agency market is. And then in Justin Simmons' case, right now with the whole Russell Wilson contract situation, how he's eating up all of their cap space, even though he's no longer even on the team. And because of that, the Broncos have to cut one of their elite players just simply because he's one of the players making the most money on the team. I'm pretty sure the Broncos would have loved to find any other option than to have to release him, but they literally just have no choice, and they have to get neutral / slightly above the actual like salary cap just so that they could actually participate in free agency coming up and things like that. And as of right now, I believe they still may be in the negative, but this is the cost. Shouts out my boy Ken Johannesson over there at Burgundy Burner. Make sure you follow him and everything on Twitter. Brings up a great point. This is literally the cost of doing business with Russell Wilson is continuing to affect the Broncos right now. And shouts out to Sean Payton for being so petty that he would prefer to cut his nose and spite his face just to get rid of Russell Wilson, to pay him all of that money and to not even allow him to play for you. And then you're going to have to cut guys like Justin Simmons in the process. Hey, man, King Petty over there. And so, of course, when a lot of us see Justin Simmons has been cut, all of us are like, wait a minute, especially as Commanders fans, like, wait a minute, do we have a chance to get this guy? Should we go get this guy? You even have Will Blackman tweeting that the Commanders should sign both Justin Simmons and Bobby Wagner in free agency. Hey, man, say, man, I'm not going to disagree. It just depends on that price, you feel me? How much money is we talking, man? But the safeties are very upset right now. I mean, Quandre Diggs, who was just recently cut, tweeted saying, "This S word is crazy. No loyalty to anything or anybody in this league. Dude has been all pro and pro bowler consistently and a staple of Denver. What's really going on with this exodus on safeties? And I've already talked about this in a previous video, talking about the safety market. I believe it was the Kamren Curl video I just did a couple of days ago, where I was talking about safeties being extremely devalued. And there's probably collusion to this. There's probably just all 32 NFL teams looking at each other basically at these league meetings like, hey man, if you don't pay safety good money or running back or tight end any big money, I won't. Especially running back and safety. If you don't pay them, if all 32 teams collude and stick together on this one plan and nobody falters, nobody breaks, nobody goes and gives a safety big money, especially this upcoming free agency period specifically, then we can all get safeties for very cheap. We just all got to stick to the plan, and it's very evil. Business is evil. That's just how this goes. But I mean, you want to play in the NFL, you got to play by the NFL's rules, but I absolutely hate it. As a fan, looking at what these players go through, and that's why Andre Diggs is even tweeting this, the safety position has clearly been devalued, and it looks like is like deliberate. Like this was on purpose. This seems pre-planned by the NFL, because with how productive and impactful safeties are on the field, there's no reason that safeties are being devalued this extremely. You can at least make an argument from running back that, yeah, these guys just don't tend to hold up once they get their second contract. Once they get that contract after their original rookie deal that they were drafted into, they tend to break down. And sorry to say it, my Georgia Bulldog Todd Gurley has a lot to deal with it. You have Ezekiel Elliott from the Cowboys from Ohio State having a lot to do with it as well. After all of these running backs keep breaking down after they get their big money, and now NFL teams are looking stupid for paying them all of that money in hindsight, I can see the argument for running backs, even though there's still, I'm pretty sure, some very evil collusion on the NFL side on that part as well for the running backs. But the safety position, there's literally, in my opinion, no reason they're being devalued like this. And I'm pretty sure it's just the NFL's evil doing behind the scenes. Like, hey man, y'all don't pay safeties, we won't either. And then now all safeties, no matter how great, are gonna have to be willing to take pennies because nobody or everybody's colluding together to not give those guys the money that they want. Again, I was just talking about this a few days ago, man. And if you don't believe me, look at the franchise tag numbers per position. It tells you everything you need to know. Safety is third. Like the only people below them are running backs and tight ends as far as how much money you're guaranteed to make if you get tagged this offseason. And that's just how it goes. And now you see guys like the Saints and Tyrann Mathieu agreed to a rework contract that will extend him through 2025. They basically added a year to his contract, and he's going to take less pay. So the Saints win by a lot. They keep a really good safety, and they're having to pay him less, and he's a less cap hit per season now. And Tyrann Mathieu, from his point of view, is like, man, this safety market sucks. There's so many great safeties out there. Well, it sucks from the player point of view. From teams' point of views, it's fantastic. This is like dream case scenario from like the Commander side of things. But as far as safeties go, as far as from their point of view, this safety market is awful. There's so many great ones, and he was basically like, man, I'll take a pay cut to stay in New Orleans than to end up an unrestricted free agent out there in those sharky waters. The man looked at that free agency safety market. It was like, nah, I'm good, man. I don't want no parts of competing against, man. I mean, just some recently added free agents, like guys that were just recently cut that are elite safeties. You have Justin Simmons, Jordan Poyer from the Bills, Jamal Adams, Kevin Byard, Quandre Diggs, Rashawn Jenkins, and Eddie Jackson, all recently hitting free agency. We still have free agency actually coming up once the new league year starts March 13th, but technically it starts like March 11th with the legal tampering period. People that were already destined to be unrestricted free agents because their contracts ended technically after the 2023 season ended. Those guys I just gave you, I believe, were all just recently released by their teams. Like, y'all could just go ahead and get added to the already crowded free agency class for the safety position. And Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams are coming from the same team, the Seattle Seahawks. They released both of their guys, just completely devaluing the position right there and flooding the market. And all of those guys that I just named are basically all fighting for the same good contracts. Like now, honestly, that transition tag that Kyle Duggar caught from the Patriots is looking more like a blessing than a curse than it was just a few days ago. That $13.815 million of guaranteed money that he's going to make this season if he signs that tag, which at this point, it looks like he definitely, like, obviously no brainer. You better sign that tag right now before, well, the Patriots technically can't change their mind because I believe since the deadline is already passed. I don't think they can. But either way, if I'm Kyle Duggar, I'm his agent, I'm telling him you sign that right now, because that will honestly probably make him one of the highest paid safeties this upcoming 2024 season if you just isolate that. Because again, with the way that this safety market is flooded, I don't think most of these guys will be making $13.815 million on a per year basis as far as a cap hit. So right now, Kyle Duggar being tagged for that almost $14 million, it's like, boy, you better take that money right now with this way this safety market is looking. And then even beyond those top names, this is a very deep class in general for safeties. I didn't even name half of the safeties that could help us at the very least immediately. Did you know that there are at least 13 or more safeties that are going to be available in this upcoming free agency that have secured at least 2 interceptions in 2023? That is crazy, man. And just to let you know, Kamren Curl is not one of them. He had 0 interceptions last year. So he's not even one of the 13 or more safeties that have had at least 2 interceptions this past season. So if you're going by interceptions alone, Kamren Curl isn't even a top 15 safety available in what starts in free agency like in a couple of days. And Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. being here now, I don't know, it's not looking good for our boy. And I know the safety position is obviously measured on multiple things and not only just interceptions. But if there was a defensive staff that cared about interceptions more than any other defensive staff right now in the NFL that would measure safety by interceptions, is this one. So poor Kamren Curl, man. You have the least leverage I've ever seen you have for the Commanders up to this point, man. I mean, the safety market includes Xavier McKinney, Justin Simmons now, Kamren Curl, Eddie Jackson, Kevin Byard, Julian Blackmon, Geno Stone, Micah Hyde, CJ Garner-Johnson, Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, Darnell Savage, Jeremy Chin, Rayshawn Jenkins, Jordan Whitehead, Tracy Walker, Jordan Fuller, just to name a few. And then on top of that, the Bills just cut Jordan Poyer. So he's added to that list as well, man. Man, oh man, bruh. The decision to not franchise tag Kamren Curl is starting to look better every day that passes right now, man. It's nice to finally have some adults and professionals making football decisions for the burgundy and gold, man. It's been too long coming. And I hate it though too, because I really like Kamren Curl. I want to bring him back. I'm a big fan of Kamren Curl's, but for the reasons I've already stated, it's not looking good for him. Having all of these really good quality safeties available in free agency doesn't help them at all, man. The more crowded the room becomes, the more they start to look at each other like, man, why are you here, man? Dang, you're gonna make it harder for all of us to get paid. It literally reverses the market. Like typically there's like 1 to 4 really good players at any given position that's available in free agency at the same time, same free agency class and all of that type of stuff. And then there maybe are like several decent ones in there as well that you could throw in there. But sadly for these safeties, but great for NFL teams like the Commanders that want safeties, with there being so many really good safeties available, instead of NFL teams fighting over each other to get the safeties are going to be fighting over each other to get to the teams. Instead of NFL teams outbidding each other for one particular safety, it's going to be more so like safeties underbidding each other and basically being willing to take even less money for the chance to end up winning a spot on one of these teams that want a safety. Like I said, it literally reverses the market. Instead of NFL teams raising the price competing against each other, safeties are gonna lower the price competing against each other. Like, well, that guy said he's willing to take, say, $15 million a year. I'll do it for 13. You know what I'm saying? You've ever heard like a salesman? That's how these safeties are about to be competing against each other. Unless they come together and collude against the NFL, like how the NFL is colluding against them, but I doubt it. The running backs tried it last year, and all it took was for 1 or 2 of those guys to sign a cheap contract, because they're like, hey man, I got kids to feed. And then now all of a sudden the whole thing is collapsed, and even Saquon Barkley's going back to the Giants on a way cheaper deal than he was acting like he was going to be even willing to take when free agency started. He ended up going back like, I mean, the whole plan failed. Might as well go back. And I wouldn't be surprised if the safety situation ends up doing that same thing. Or maybe they don't even try to collude. They're just like, hey, man, every man for himself right now. I'm trying to get this money. I'm about to go ahead and sign for this cheap little $9 million deal where most people probably expect me to get like $15 million a year, because the quicker you get to it, the better, because the money's only going to go down, down, and down as more teams sign safeties, and then those teams are less willing to pay big safety money as less safety spots are available. And again, with this safety market being flooded this way with elite and proven talent, his price probably just went down. Again, it's a buyer's market when I'm talking about Justin Simmons. And I'm talking about Kamren Curl. It's a buyer's market now. And with Kamren Curl having some of the lowest interception numbers out of any of the guys that are available right now, whatever those guys end up getting that do have interceptions, Curl will more than likely get considerably less. And with it being so many safeties just available in general, it brings everybody's asking price down. But Curl probably suffers the most, I'm not gonna lie. If this free agency safety class only included, say, like Kamren Curl and maybe like one or two other good safeties, then yeah, I can see him getting the money that he's potentially looking for. But now, he's gonna have to settle. I'm sorry. And he may even end up having to sign sooner rather than later, because let a guy like Justin Simmons go out there and sign for something cheaper than what people thought. Say he goes out there and signs for, say, like $12 million per year. Then people are going to look at Kamren Curl crazy if he even asking for something anywhere near that. So Kamren Curl, I'm not going to lie, if I'm your agent, y'all need to be on trying to sign as soon as possible for very cheap. And I know it hurts. You were looking for a certain amount of money, but it's looking like you're not going to get it. You have to look at the landscape and understand it's not going to happen. It's a great year to be a team right now that needs a safety, but a terrible year to be a safety that needs a team. That's the best way to put it. And again, poor Kamren Curl, because even just first of all, from the Commanders' point of view, the new Commanders that now have Dan Quinn as their head coach and Joey Jr. as their defensive coordinator, who wants to lead the NFL in takeaways like they did in Dallas over the last 3 years, even ignoring all other factors when comparing Kamren Curl to Justin Simmons. Ignore even just like athletic profile, ignore length, ignore instincts, ignore tackling, ignore everything. Even if you're only looking at just interceptions, that's it. Justin Simmons has Kamren Curl beat by a mile. And depending on how you want to word it, I think the nicest way possible to word Kamren Curl right now is that maybe he's the best safety in the NFL that doesn't get interceptions. And that's the most glass half full way to look at it. Meanwhile, no player in the NFL, out of the entire NFL, has more interceptions, even outside of safety, all DBs included, cornerbacks, everybody, has more interceptions than Justin Simmons has since he entered the NFL in 2016. He's interception god. And Dan Quinn and Joey Jr., if anybody, want to get interceptions more than anybody else in the NFL. And this is literally interception guy. Or even if you're more of like a what have you done for me lately guy. Justin Simmons has also led the NFL in interceptions since 2020. So no matter which way you try to slice it, this guy's interception king right now. So it's not like he was off to like a hot start earlier in his career, like early into his rookie contract, and then teams maybe like adjusted to him or something, and then he's fallen off since. No, he's been going stupid this entire time. No matter how you slice it up in 4-year samples, this guy Justin Simmons has been elite. And when we're talking about him leading the NFL in interceptions over the last 4 seasons, we're talking about more than Trevon Diggs, more than J.C. Jackson, more than Xavier Howard, Tyrann Mathieu, Quandre Diggs, Jesse Bates, Deron Bland, Rasul Douglas, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Jalen Ramsey. He has more interceptions than all of those guys since 2020. Like, I don't think y'all understand how ridiculous that is. So not even just because Justin Simmons, just from the surface, is considered a top safety in free agency, just in general. So of course, all if not most NFL teams want him, but even specifically just Commanders alone, he literally is the dream player for them, and most importantly, a dream fit for them, for what Dan Quinn and Joey Jr. want to do. Like, if there was one player that this new Commanders defensive staff probably wants the most that's available in free agency right now, it's probably Justin Simmons more than anybody else, even throwing in like a Brian Burns or a Josh Allen at edge rusher, even if they were available, because this is probably the most perfect 100% fit to what this defensive staff wants to do, regardless of position that you're considering. Linebacker, safety, cornerback, edge rusher, Justin Simmons, out of all of those positions and all of those players, is probably projected to be the best fit for what the Commanders want to do in the future. Which takes me back to the point that everything is relative and everything is based on the market. Without Justin Simmons available, concerning Kam Curl's situation, Kamren Curl would still more than likely not be able to get the money that he's probably hoping to get from the Commanders, or just the general safety market of teams that need one, just because there's so many good ones available. But now on top of that, you add, as of today, Justin Simmons to an already overcrowded safety free agency class, and now Kamren Curl's highest possible contract has potentially decreased even more. Poor guy, man. Like, honestly, Kamren Curl, to maximize how much money he could have gotten in this 2024 free agency cycle, he would have been better off re-signing with the Commanders like a week ago or sooner, like before the combine, because his price and value is only going down by the day with more and more safeties becoming available, especially the great ones, man. I mean, it's bad, to be completely honest with Curl, and this is coming from a guy that, again, would love to re-sign him. I like him. I'm probably higher on Kamren Curl than most people out there, but of course there's a limit to what I'd be willing to give him. But honestly, the only chance that he has of getting money that even anywhere near close to what he was potentially asking for as of just a few days ago is, I guess, waiting until we're in the full swing of training camp and hoping that every NFL team's starting safeties get hurt. Other than that, it's dark for Kamren Curl as far as potentially getting big money that he's hoping for, because you also have to remember that he's not only competing against this ridiculous safety class, arguably the best free agency safety class I've ever seen in my lifetime, but he's also competing against the safety draft class as well. NFL teams are looking at Kamren Curl like, why would I pay you $14 million per year according to his spot track market value? And maybe he's even asking for more than that. You never know. When I could just draft my own guy, fresh from college, higher ceiling, that I only have to pay around like $2 million per year or less if I get them after the second round. That's a minimum $12 million difference between Kamren Curl and a draft safety that a team could save in cap space hit just by drafting a guy rather than signing Kamren Curl. So back to my main point about Justin Simmons. Yeah, he's an elite safety, but with the best safety in all of football last year getting franchise tagged by the Buccaneers, as in Antoine Winfield, and Kyle Duggar getting transition tagged by the Patriots, and that even looks like a blessing right now. And with this safety market as flooded as it is right now with experienced and proven starters, I feel like the Commanders, if they really do want Justin Simmons, they may actually be able to get him for a very good price. This isn't the quarterback position or tackle or wide receiver or edge rusher or linebacker or even defensive tackle when there's always going to be more teams that need good ones than there are available for said teams. And maybe you can get a steal somewhere. But safety is one of like the only 3, maybe 4 position groups in football that, like, right now, this free agency period, you can probably get at a discount no matter how elite. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if none of these safeties, including Justin Simmons and Jordan Poyer, end up getting big time money. I would not be surprised. But then again, if we are ignoring age, I feel like Justin Simmons makes just too much sense, man. And this isn't even a situation where it's just simply the Commanders need a player at a certain position group and there happens to be an elite player available at that position group, and that's just it. Because like us fans, a lot of the time we look at, oh man, this elite player is available at a position that we need, and that's literally just it. No, this is very different. He's literally not only an elite player, but like I already said, a perfect fit as well for what Quinn and Joe want to do on defense. But on top of that, he just so happens to also be arguably the best safety available at the same time. The best fit and the best player at his position is kind of crazy. This is a unique situation, and with the market being that it is right now, this is an extremely unique situation where you may be able to get all of the best of every world for the Commander side of things. But of course, we can't ignore age. That's why I brought that up. And even though Justin Simmons is only 30 years old, which is still firmly in his prime, in my opinion, But with how long-term Adam Peters may be envisioning the Commanders right now, maybe 30 years old is too old. I personally don't believe so at all. Me, as in Rico Street Scores, do not feel like Justin Simmons is too old at all. But I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and think of any way possible that Justin Simmons to the Commanders doesn't make any sense right now. Because even with that logic, it would still at the very least be nice to have one veteran to help mentor this youth movement that we pretty much have going on at every position group. We brought in Zach Ertz to be the veteran in the tight end group, even though I'm not even sure if he's going to start for us. We just need a veteran there. And then safety wise, right now we have Derek Forrest, Percy Butler, and Quan Martin. I love their talents, especially Quan Martin, but it would still be very nice to have a Justin Simmons to be the veteran for that group that doesn't really have a veteran. Out of all of those guys, Derek Forrest is the oldest, and I still feel like he's very raw. So at the end of the day, unless he somehow finds a way to demand crazy money in this awful safety market right now, from the player's point of view, from the team point of view, is great, then that's really the only reason I don't see us pursuing him aggressively. Because again, I don't even think 30 years old is that old, but again, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. Shouts out to Sam48 for this tweet. He brings up some decent points. Justin Simmons is an interesting case for the Commanders. He's the type of player they want, ball hawking DB with 30 picks since 2016, but is older, 30 years old, and will probably cost a lot, $14 million or plus per year, and is not a position of relative need. Well, even though those are some good points to think about, to brainstorm about, I do disagree a little bit, because I would say that safety is a need in my opinion, because with Curl more than likely gone, unless he's willing to come back for an extremely cheap contract that he wasn't willing to take as of just a couple of days ago, we don't have any real proven safeties right now. It's just a bunch of young guys with high ceilings that have had flashes, but that's about it. And Derek Forrest is coming off of IR. But going into the 2024 regular season, assuming that all we need is Quan Martin, Derek Forrest, and Percy Butler, is literally malpractice. Like going into this upcoming season and assuming that we're good at safety, what we currently have with Kamren Curl walking, is not good. So I do still feel like it's a need for real. Now, is it as big of a need as like edge rusher or left tackle? For sure not. But it's still a pretty big need, underrated need for sure. And also, like I've explained before, with the market looking like the way it does right now, maybe Justin Simmons will not be able to get that $14 million per year that he's potentially looking for or more. And even if he does, like I told you, with him being the dream case scenario fit, imagine what Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. can do with a safety that has 30 interceptions since 2016. Like, if there were ever a free agent that I thought that was available out of any position group right now that the Commanders would be willing to throw the book at, just hand them a blank check, it would probably be Justin Simmons, at least top three. I believe it's probably like Tyron Smith at left tackle, maybe one of those edge rushers, and then Justin Simmons is the guy. Like, if the Commanders even think about handing anybody a blank check, it would be him. Imagine, again, what Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn can do with a guy that's had 30 interceptions since 2016. Justin Simmons, literally, if you want to look at it as, he's been a one-man army of interceptions for the Broncos. And then meanwhile, Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. have led the NFL in takeaways over the last 3 years as a team without the NFL's best interceptor. So just imagine what it could be like if they come together and work together, how elite that could be. If you look at it like that, Justin Simmons may even really want to play for us. Like, maybe it may be like a mutual thing where we're looking at him starry-eyed and he's looking at us starry-eyed now that we have Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. here. The only thing I'm honestly worried about is whether the Commanders, most notably Adam Peters, if they actually even want Justin Simmons, because it doesn't matter how bad Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. want him. Like, it honestly doesn't. If Adam Peters doesn't want him, it's not happening no matter how much Dan Quinn bangs the table for him. So I'm just worried about whether or not the Commanders even want him enough to pay him what he may be demanding. And also I'm worried about if Justin Simmons wants to go to a Super Bowl contender. I'm literally just trying to be devil's advocate here and think of any way possible that Justin Simmons to the Commanders doesn't make sense. And those are the only ones I can really come up with. But again, remember, Adam Peters was the director of college scouting in Denver in 2016 when Justin Simmons was drafted. He probably led the charge to get Justin Simmons. So Adam Peters may actually really want Justin Simmons as well, just as much as Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. You never know. He really wanted him back in Denver. Maybe he really wants him now. Adam Peters loved college version of Justin Simmons. Imagine how he feels about 30 NFL interceptions version of Justin Simmons right now. Like, honestly, probably the only reason that Adam Peters wasn't able to get Justin Simmons in San Francisco was because he probably never had the cap space to do so. Now he has the most cap space in the NFL, so if he wants to, he can. So we'll see. But then again, Adam Peters has said that he likes to build through the draft, and he literally built Justin Simmons. He got him from the draft. Maybe he thinks he can repeat that same success through the draft rather than going and get a guy that he already previously got through a draft as well for the Denver Broncos. But going back to Kamren Curl real quick, it would not shock me one bit if we look up someday soon, before free agency even hits, and we see the headline, Commanders have re-signed safety Kamren Curl to a 3-year, $7 million per year deal. Just simply because, again, Kamren Curl and his agent have finally realized that this market is so flooded that you're going to have to lower your asking price by a lot to get picked up out here. And you better hurry up, because the more elite guys that sign, the worse it gets for you leverage-wise, Kamren Curl. If I'm him, I'm trying to be the very first safety that signs a contract in this upcoming free agency period, whether it's with the Commanders or not. Because if he doesn't, he's going to end up in a situation where he only has two options: pay for pennies or don't play anywhere in the NFL at all next year. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button. Please leave a like on the way out. Free for y'all, means the world to me. Y'all do not understand, so please leave a like on the way out. Of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about this whole situation. Do you want Justin Simmons? How much money are you willing to give him? Do you agree with me that he's a perfect fit? Do you agree with me on the fact that this safety market is flooded, so we shouldn't have to force anything and pay a guy too much money, because all of these guys are probably going to end up getting less money than what's expected? How do you feel about the whole Kamren Curl situation? Let me know how you feel about all of that. And also, I want to give y'all the heads up that a lot of y'all, for the next video after this one, I guess, I'm going to try to remember to say this at the end of every video, but a lot of y'all that are clicking on the videos, and I really appreciate y'all, but for those of y'all that like click on the videos immediately after getting a notification, especially if you're using a mobile device, the audio may not work immediately. That's like a YouTube problem, so just wait a second and then refresh and come back, and the audio should work every time. Just to give y'all the heads up there. But yeah, man, I really appreciate y'all. Stay tuned, because I have so much content to get to. Stay tuned with all of that. I'm about to get back to my undid unluck as soon as I'm done editing this video. I'm gonna catch y'all later, working on more content. That I'm definitely coming out with something later tonight. Catch y'all later. I'm out.